Go ahead.
I forgot to tell you. So Artem actually said that he would like to apologize as well. If he'd be okay with it, if we could all get on a call together and he could apologize, he'd like that.
I would prefer if he called alone.
If he called you?
Yeah, if he called alone.
Alone, yeah, just you and him? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
He likes an audience.
I actually might just be I don't know actually if he said he wanted me to be there. I might just be adding that.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. But anyway, yeah, he said he'd like to apologize.
And the video, if we make a video, you can listen to the video. So.
Oh yeah, no, I don't need to be there. That's fine.
So, the point is that it's actually, the whole show is the second noble truth. And that is that we like and we don't like. We do that ignorantly, which then leads to the next step. Liking and not liking goes into wanting, like wanting to get and wanting to push. But the push-pull happens because of liking and not liking ignorantly. And often that push-pull then pushes all the way into good and bad, or right and wrong. And so it's best in Dhamma practice to catch the liking and not liking. An example of that, just this morning, talking to Kat, who's staying at the Wat, and sometimes his practice is really good. They're doing a practice called Buddho, but it really is nothing but putting wholesome thoughts in the mind. And then thoughts of boredom would come up. And he even used the word brutal to talk about boredom. And the answer to that is that the adjectives that we use indicate not reality, but our feelings. Like, for instance, a building is a building. Calling it a tall building or calling it a very tall building is the way we feel about it. And so when we see a 20-story building or a 100-story building, then we say, oh, it's very tall. But if we were 900 feet tall, then it would be something on the ground. It would be small. It has to do with our perspective and our liking and not liking. Okay? And so when someone hears something that is a surprise or something new or disagrees with their own personal worldview, that not liking then will immediately erupt into a use of language. People can get angry, people can get sad or frustrated, they can start to argue. All kinds of possibilities are happening because they're ignorant of the fact that they didn't like something. Now, obviously, they don't like it. I mean, they're just going, it's sort of like in baseball that, oh, you're talking about first base, the first thing that happens. And here I am on second or third base. And the answer to that is yes, but you didn't go around the diamond. You didn't go to first base first. You wound up on second or third base without going to first base first. And the first base is our feelings. We have to start recognizing how we feel about what we hear, liking and not liking. And so when I said what I said, you didn't like it, and so you got really surprised and started to argue instead of saying, maybe he's right. And so this is why it's so valuable for us to work with that second noble truth all the way into the details of it called Paticca Samuppada, but really it's right there. And that is that we ignorantly bypass first base and go immediately into the pushing and pulling, or the gooding and the badding, instead of recognizing it's the liking and not liking that gets that stuff started. And so we don't like it when we get called out when we're standing on second base because we didn't go to first base first. And this is the dukkha, is that we don't see how things are happening step by step by step. So when you start paying attention to your feelings, then and only then do you have a choice about your feelings. You've heard stories like, leave it alone, it's not broken, you don't have to fix it. Right? So that's the whole point is that we don't have to fix just because we don't like it. That in fact it may be that we haven't discovered it yet. For instance, the TV's on the wrong channel and we don't like it. So we start writing letters to the editor of Fox News because we want to watch NBC, and all we need to do is learn the television has knobs on it. They can be changed. And in this regard, then, the change would be how you feel. But you don't know how you feel, then it's hard to be able to have any control over it. And in that regard, the feelings run the person. That we go around pushing and pulling and living our lives being driven by our feelings of liking and not liking. Because we're ignorant. And so we push and pull because we like and don't like. So that's how we deal with things, is by learning to look at how we're feeling about stuff. And once we do that, then we look at, well, what did we do? What did we say? What kind of unwholesome thoughts did we have that triggered those unwholesome feelings, those ignorant unwholesome feelings? And so this is then the practice of anapanasati, is to start looking at what we think and how we feel. When we can see that clearly, we can have a choice. Like, aha, I see I'm arguing. And then, aha, I see that I don't like what he said. Now we have some control. Aha, I like that I can see that I didn't like it. Or I'm bored. Aha, I see that I'm bored. Isn't that marvelous that I can see that I'm bored? And I start to like the boredom. The boredom is a good teacher. And so if we're careful, arguing can be a good teacher. If you see it. But most of the time, when you say, you're arguing with me, they'll say, no, I'm not arguing. We automatically reject that which we don't like because we go too far. And instead of just recognizing, oh, I didn't like what he just said, let me examine it. We immediately continue to argue. I'm not arguing. And Kat was saying that this is really subtle. It's hard to see. It's profound. That's the way that the Buddha described it to Ananda. that the way that the mind works, this paticca samuppada, is really, really profound. It's profound in the way that most of humanity is miserable. Most of humanity is stupid. They could be happy, but they choose to be unhappy instead. And that's just stupid. But it comes from the position of, I'm not okay already. So when I hear something that I don't like, it's not okay too. So I immediately attack what I don't like because I'm not already in the state of being happy and safe and secure. It's sort of like when a fresh, big bruise is touched, it's painful. We don't like it. But if they touched the other arm that wasn't bruised, then that same touch doesn't hurt. And because the bruise hurts, we think that the touch caused the bruise to hurt. When in fact the real cause was the bruise.
Bruise. Yep.
And so if we can begin to see then that we don't like being touched there, that'll help us being in touch with the feelings of the bruise, and then see that we have been bruised and deal with that correctly. So that's the liking and not liking. And as I was mentioning, stupid people are bruised. And then when they're touched, they don't like it. Rather than recognizing that all what's being said is probably real, and it's touched my bruise.
Do you think people are bruised because they're stupid, or stupid because they're bruised?
I think that it all works together, and the question is, how did the cycle get started? And the answer to that is, we don't need to know that. What we need to do instead is see the cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just an interesting.
There, the bruise is there, and when it's touched, it's painful. But if the touch happens and there's no bruise, then it's not painful. Okay, this is like criticism then. If somebody says something, let us say on Reddit, or when people are criticizing, the answer would be, oh, did they touch a nerve? Did they touch a bruise? Or am I whole and healed and can handle being touched by that criticism?
Right.
Okay, so
right.
That's the whole point is that when criticism comes, we don't go into the state of not liking it and have to deal with that. We can say, doesn't matter.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That an egg cannot handle being hit by a hammer, but a rock can be hit by a hammer, doesn't faze them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the same thing as when they hit a bruise, it hurts. So recognize that pain as coming from a soreness on the inside, not from I'm whole and you touched me in a painful way. Well, no, you weren't whole. That's why the touch was painful, was because there was already an internal problem.
I understand what you're saying, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where argumentation comes from, is that you get wounded. Well, the job of a good teacher is to poke on that wound, to poke on that thing and say, look at what's going on there. And instead, they don't like the finger poking.
Mm-hmm. No.
And so this is what's happened with that, and that it would be good to recognize that you are carrying old wounds that can be healed by giving them the nourishment and the nurture that they need, that it needs.
A lot of it has been healed already. I understand everything you're saying, but yes, it's healing. continuing to heal. But I understand what you're saying, my friend, completely, every word. A lot has healed already since the last time we spoke.
All right. So, you have never been blocked.
No, it was actually something with my Skype. It signed me out because there was like an authentication error on my laptop. So I had to re-sign in. So I couldn't
Skype
send it
touched
back.
you, but you were bruised by our relationship already. And so you thought I had blocked you, where in fact, no, I hadn't done anything.
Well, yeah. Yeah. It was good to know that you had not done anything. I will say those are the most teachable moments when you think that someone has some perception of you, and then you realize it was all you. It was all you with yourself. Never had anything to do with them. So, yeah.
That going back to the other part of the discussion, Jeff removed himself from the group, then I put him back in. And so he came back, but then he left again.
Oh, okay. And I did not have any part in that. I did not ask him to leave or anything.
Because everything he had to say was in reference to what happened with you.
I think
you're not a part of it as you are, but you're a part of it in his mind.
Right. No, I understand that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's his experience too, right? It's his individual experience. So.
Right. But it was the same lesson, and it sounds like that you're in the process of learning it. So maybe you can go help him learn that lesson too.
I could talk with him, for sure.
Good. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I could talk with him.
You can even tell him that I asked you to talk to him.
I can do that. Yeah, no problem. Jeff and I are great friends, so I'm sure. I'm sure I could say something.
Yeah, birds of a
hopefully be
feather
helpful.
flock together. Birds of a feather flock together, and when they do, they become friends.
They do. It's beautiful to be friends.
Mm-hmm. It's even more beautiful to be in friends in Dhamma. That's what we call Sangha.
Absolutely.
As opposed to friends, because we have the same enemy.
Well, I get that. But yeah.
Because we like and don't like the same things.
Mm-hmm.
That's ordinary, normal friendships.
You know, it's interesting. It almost seemed like there was no other way it could have gone for me. My personal experience is that I was so torn between teachings. I was so torn between my confusion over different teachings. And I was like desperate for clarity. I just was like ripping my hair out, man. I couldn't handle it anymore. And so I needed there was like a combustion kind of effect, right? And so I understand, and I'm sorry for any impact that it had on you or the Sangha as well. I realize now that I realize now basically everything that I would have needed to know in that moment to not do what I did, right? So it's like a perfect storm. I'm thankful for the experience, but I'm also
sometimes the storm has to be perfect enough. Sometimes the storm has to be perfect enough so that you can see, finally, this is a storm.
Yeah. It was great, man. I'm very thankful. My whole life has changed. From changing my relationship with my thoughts, surrendering to experience as it is, And then in the Dzogchen view, seeing things as they really are. These three things have they've totally transformed my life.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Good. That storm actually is a storm of doubt in the sense of a hindrance. The storm of doubt is, oh, there's different teachings. Oh, I've got to find out what this stuff is. I've got to get a handle on it. And the answer is recognize that we're full of doubt. Recognize that we don't like that the teachings are different.
Right.
And then, and that's the reality of the situation, and I can just relax.
Yes.
And that's what the real teaching is.
Yes. It always comes back to you. Always comes back to you. Yes. Yes. I understand that very well. Yes.
So, without a doubt, it's okay to be happy.
Without a doubt. Yes, sir. With or without a doubt, really.
Mm-hmm. Without having to prove anything.
Right, nothing to prove.
And the reason that we want to prove something is because we have doubts about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If there are no doubts, then it doesn't need to be proved.
I don't know if you resonate with this at all, but I'm curious if you do. But what I've also experienced is that tears also hide your ignorance. Sorry, your ignorance hides your tears. Arrogance specifically. I've noticed whenever I'm arrogant, it's an overcompensation for not being how I think how I accept, like not being how I'd really just like to be. I don't accept myself as I am. That's what arrogance really is. It's like self-hatred in disguise.
Okay.
And so when I saw that, there was lots of tears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was good.
Let's describe it this way to make it very simple.
Yeah.
And that is, how dare you touch my wound? In other words, they touched you and you didn't like it. And so the arrogance is a great big, loud defense.
And it's a covering. It's a hiding. Yeah.
To hide the old wound.
Yes. Yes. When it's all about that wound. And when you sit with that wound, there's nothing but tears.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, we can see ultimately that the wound can heal.
Yes. Yes. Through the tears.
Well, with or without the tears.
With or without.
In fact, often the tears slow the healing down. Perhaps, in fact, don't touch it could be replaced by, oh, let me nourish it. Let me rub some balm on it. Let me take care of it. Let me nurture it. And then the healing happens faster. The tears are still, don't touch me. I don't like it. As opposed to the nurturing, oh, this is not such a bad wound after all. It's really not that big. Look, it's already healing. To quote you from a few minutes ago.
I understand what you're saying, but I would say in my experience, at least how it's been going, is that anytime I cry, I notice there's actually relief. I actually feel better.
Yes. But the relief is because something is tense and built up. The tears themselves come from, I feel really, really bad.
Yeah, the tears come from the tension and the pain in the
Right,
body.
exactly. Hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, and the source of that is these old wounds, which are basically the attitude of I'm
Yes.
not okay.
Right. Right. Which we learned. We learned to believe that. We learned to believe that we're not
We
okay.
started off that way and picked
Yeah.
that up. I mean, an
Yeah.
infant, a tiny infant in the
Yeah.
crib,
Yeah.
cries
Yeah.
when they're
Right.
hungry. It
Right.
doesn't get up and go to the kitchen and just get some food. A tender
Right.
infant of a few weeks
Yeah.
cries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But eventually, the kid don't cry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Eventually, he'll ask mommy, I'm hungry. And eventually, after that, he'll go get something to eat all on his own. He doesn't need mommy anymore.
Mm-hmm. And
Okay.
then, yeah, I
So
think,
that's so recognize that yes, the tears are part of the process, but they're optional. That a fast learner, the infant,
mm,
will say, hey, I'm hungry. Let me get up and go get something to eat. But that's often not the way things work.
I don't know.
That
I
we have
mean,
to go through the tears process. But that's why I was saying ultimately before, with that example of an infant, going back to the example of a wound, is that if the wound is not severe enough to cause tears, then it's probably going to heal quicker than it would if that wound, when it's touched, is painful enough to cause tears. And so the tears are actually, let us say, in reality, rightly or wrongly, it's the recognition of, oh, look how bad I hurt. He should not touch my wound. Look how bad it is. Look how bad I feel. But if you already have the attitude, which would be more of a winner's attitude of, oh, I can handle that. Oh, that wound's not so much. Or in the sense of criticism, oh, he missed me. He doesn't even know who I am. He's criticizing something in his own mind.
hmm,
So, this is the underlying position, which is basically what the real teaching of the Buddha is to come out of that attitude of a loser into the attitude of being a winner, which means then that all the wounds are not much, oh, they're not worth crying over. But when they hurt a lot, that's when the tears come. And yes, the tears then can be a relief, just like a tender infant's crying will bring mommy, tits and all, if you know what I mean. And sometimes we can go so far as to actually get tired of crying and
mm-hmm,
tell ourselves, hey, look, we don't have to cry so much. It's not as bad as I thought it was.
mm-hmm.
Hmm. And that's when the healing starts, is after the tears. So this is a way of beginning to look at the fact that we're sensitive in the sense that we're trying to guard or protect a wound. And that wound is the attitude, I'm not okay, I need help.
Right.
And the
Or like
practice of,
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. And so the start of that is to recognize when I'm being touched that I don't like it. That's the starting point.
Mm.
Only then can we discover that, oh, the reason I don't like it is it's painful because I've got a wound there. If there was no wound, that touch wouldn't be painful.
Yeah, it's good to know.
And now
Appreciate that.
we can
Thank
begin
you.
to heal that wound and take the attitude of, I can handle anything. That I'm okay, you're okay. That's the difference between being stupid and being wise. Is the stupid is the one who says you're not okay because you touched my not okayness.
Right.
And the real champion, the real winner is that, hey, you're okay even if you touched me because I'm okay.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now there's two other positions that we'll mention briefly. One is I'm not okay, but you're okay, which makes us helpless.
Right. That was my whole life. That was my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then the alternate is the alternate of a criminal. I'm okay, but you're not okay.
Yep.
But the I'm okay, you're not okay is actually fake and false.
Right. Like narcissism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Criminals have the
Right.
opinion of, oh, I need what you've got, but you're not okay, so it's okay that I harm you to get what you've got so that I'll be okay. Because deep down inside that I'm okay, you're not, I'm okay, you're not okay, is just a smothering or cover up for I'm really not okay. But occasionally it happens in the mind. I'm okay, you're not okay. But if we can nurture, and come into that state of real okayness, then the environment is okay too.
Right. Fundamentally, everything is always okay.
Everything is all right. Everything is just fine. Not necessarily good, not full, but enough. Everything is enough.
Enough for this moment, because that's all there is.
That's right. That's all we've got. The past is painful. The future is painful. Past and future is what victims do. Winners are right here, right now.
Right. But you couldn't be a winner if you didn't first experience what it was like to be a victim.
You have to know it. You have to see it.
Yeah. You have to see your own victimness in order to be a winner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not that we see it one time and then remember in the past that we saw it, is can we see it again right here, right now?
Right. Yeah. Right. And then unsee it, ultimately.
We'll make a change.
Right.
Make a change. Start nourishing that wound. Everything's all right. Everything is fine. Let's put some salve on it. Let's take care of it. And then it'll heal. And then everything's all right. So, Alex, may you heal. May you see that your sensitivity is because of your own pain from the wound of I'm not okay or I'm a victim.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Another way of talking about it is the blame game. Look what you did to me.
Right. Right.
So, why don't we go ahead and finish up now? I think that this is a good point. I think that you're getting what I'm saying. May you remember to be here now. May you remember to recognize that nothing is painful if we're not wounded.
That's right. We never were. We only learned to believe that we were.
That's our attitude.
That's our attitude. Thank you, my friend.
We'll see you.
See you.